Got everybody in the pool for this one. Brian McFadden won 2 Super Bowls. Member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Scott Pioli, 5-time NFL Executive of the Year, 3-time Super Bowl champ up in New England. Scott, I'll start with you. This game says what about Buffalo to you?
I think it just reinforces that they're a very, very good football team, Eric. I tell you, the credit that needs to go to Brandon Beane, to Sean McDermott, to Brian Daboll, what they've done to build this football team, but also develop the football team. Brian Daboll did an amazing job of developing Josh Allen. I tell you, they are a very sound football team. They're a very talented football team, well coached. This is a very, very good football team that is going to make some noise here in January. Again, to me, it just reinforced that this was a team that we saw ascending near the end of the year last year, picked up where it left off, and has just taken it through the entire course of a season. They are a very good football team right now, Eric.
B-Mac, you just watched Buffalo absolutely, methodically, piece by piece, take apart the Patriots. This says what about the Bills to you?
They're the real deal. They're the real deal. And the reason why I feel that way, guys, based on, of course, what we've been watching the last few weeks, they have a real deal quarterback. Josh Allen is a quarterback, man. The way he stands in the pocket, it's like he stands in the pocket like a statue, and he waits to the very last moment to get out of the pocket to make something happen with his mobility, but he's always looking down the football field to find an open pass catcher. And Stephon Diggs, oh my goodness, he's been nothing but a blessing for the organization. I mean, I don't care if you gave up a first rounder. I don't care what you gave up to Minnesota. He's worth every penny. He has been coming through in the clutch, and because of his presence on their team, that has helped Josh Allen continue to develop and go forward in the right direction. And right now, in the AFC, Josh Allen is playing some of the best football at the quarterback position. Right now, I'm not saying he is the best quarterback in the AFC. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying right now, at this moment, if you look at the last few weeks, he's playing some of the best football out of any quarterback in the AFC. And if he continues to do that, and if they continue to be focused and dialed in, and don't forget about their defense, Leslie Frazier, he's doing a real good job as well. I have my concerns with their run defense, but outside of that, in totality, they're playing some real inspired football defensively. But listen, if the lead singer, who is Josh Allen, if he continues to have his voice, he's drinking his tea and his hot chocolate and his cocoa, and he's able to deliver those high notes and low notes, look out. This thing can get real interesting in January, and I will be front row to watch.
JJ, it's not a perfect analogy, but I felt like I was watching in some ways the AFC version of the Green Bay Packers. Josh Allen to Diggs is a lot like Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams. You know it's coming. You can't stop it. The defense has been up and down at times, but the quarterback's playing out of his mind, making all the throws, holding the ball late, zipping it around, and you're like, oh, did I just see that? That kind of thing. Again, not the perfect analogy, but that's what Buffalo reminded me of tonight. What'd you see? What did Buffalo say to you tonight?
So the Buffalo defense has been up and down all season. However, these last couple of weeks, they've really put the clamps on their opponents. And we saw it yet again tonight. I mean, Cam Newton with 34 passing yards, Jarrett Stidham with 44 passing yards. You throw in a couple of sacks in there, and they had a net passing yardage of 56. So that's impressive, no matter who you play, so long as you're playing a professional football team. So that's what the Buffalo defense just did. You look at this offense, this is what I wanted the Buffalo Bills to do, go in here and show that you are a playoff team, that you are, and we know that they're a playoff team. But go ahead and start the postseason right now. Go ahead and assert your dominance and let everybody know. All those Patriots who are going to be on the team in 2021, they're going to remember getting swept by this Buffalo Bills team. Maybe the first one, hey, if you hadn't punched that ball out, Cam Newton there in the red zone, we would have kicked that field goal. Yeah, we would have seen you. That second game, though, no excuses on this one. Josh Allen is playing incredibly well. And you mentioned the Packers, and it's interesting, EK, because as Scott and B-Mac were talking, I started thinking, are the Bills the third best team in the NFL? Or are they the second best team in the NFL? I think we all have the Chiefs number one, and we all appreciate what the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers are doing, especially at Lambeau, and we just saw what they did to the Tennessee Titans. However, on a neutral field, if we rolled the football out there on Sunday and said it's the Bills and the Packers, I'm not certain I wouldn't take the Bills in that game.
Yeah, it's a very fair point. Probably come down to whatever defense you like better. Because, again, the offense, there are some similarities between the two. One of the things I like best about, Scott, what you do as an analyst is you do not, prisoner of the moment. Your comments wear well over time because they're not overreactions and wild swings based upon the moment. You know tomorrow, everywhere you pick it up, it's going to be, it's over in New England. They're terrible. They're going to be bad for the next decade. That's what you're going to hear. Is it as bad as it looks? I mean, they're going to get a new offensive line next year because a lot of guys coming back. Defensive guys come back because they opted out for COVID. Julian Edelman will come back. How bad is it in New England right now? I know there's no more Brady, but talk to me about the Patriots going forward and next year.
Eric, every team's going to have an off season, and the Patriots are going to have an off season too. They're going to have to find ways. They're going to have to redefine themselves. All right, so they've had the, again, forgive the analogy, but they've put the Brady issue to bed. He's moved on. They've moved on. They've got to move towards the future, and that's what you have a scouting department for. That's what you have a personnel department for. That's what you have a coaching staff for. Again, it's not as dire as people are going to feel tomorrow or the end of the season. Again, I think what happens is when you have a run like this, your expectations are unrealistic for everything. And right now, they're a below 500 football team. And that happens. It hasn't happened in 20 years there. So again, they need to be patient. They have a process. They have a system. They have people in place that have been there for a long time. They will finish the season out. They'll do their assessment, and they'll get to work. They'll identify where their needs are, what their problems are, what their issues are. Are there problems in the personnel? Are there problems with coaching? They will make all of those adjustments and move forward. Again, a lot of unhappy fans right now, and again, tomorrow morning, but everyone goes through this. And the fact is the Patriots haven't gone through it in a very, very long time.
B-Mac, this is not a team that's going to go 3-13 this year, although you're going to make it, they're going to make you feel like they did tomorrow when you watch all the talk shows and that kind of thing. Who are a healthy New England Patriots when their offensive linemen are back, when their defensive guys are back, when Julian Edelman is back, when Sony Michel and Rex Burkhead and all those guys play a full season? Who are the Patriots when they're healthy?
I would say an above average team, and I'll leave it there. And the reason why I'll just give them above average, you don't know who the quarterback will be, right? With all those pieces returning, do we believe, let's say Cam Newton returns to be the quarterback for the New England Patriots, do we believe he can get them over the hump from being just above average based on what we've seen? And I know the personnel clearly is not ideal that's surrounding him. The pass catchers, issues at the running back position injury-wise. We talked about the offensive line woes as well. But it seems like Cam Newton, his arm, the velocity of the football is not there. Time and time again, week in and week out, we see the football consistently die on him before getting to the pass catcher. The ball hits the ground too many times on outside number throws. The deep outs, the deep comebacks, the ball dies. We saw that a few times with inside number throws tonight against the Buffalo Bills. So that is a big concern. That's the most concerning thing with me with this team, because some of the guys that opt out, they will return. They will be fresh. They have fresh legs. Some of the injuries they've dealt with, those guys will be healthy. But you don't know who the answer will be at the quarterback position. And one thing I know about the National Football League guys, if you don't have a clear-cut guy and consistent guy at the quarterback position, you're going to struggle. You're not going to be competitive. And their division is getting sticky. Buffalo, they're not going anywhere. Miami will be a much improved team, especially with the resources they have in the draft next season. The Jets is the Jets. Don't worry about the Jets. But just those two teams alone.
If you were going to try to sell that one. And
that's good.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm sorry. Too soon, New York Jets fans. Too soon. I'm sorry.
No, it's right on time. No, listen, I'm glad you brought up the AFC East there because, yeah, they're going to play a quarter of their games, and they're not going to be tomato cans. The Bills and the Dolphins, maybe in the past couple years, I'm sure the Patriots took them seriously, but I think we on the outside looking in always say, well, that's 3-1 or 4-0 right there. And that's not going to be the case moving forward. You mentioned the quarterback position. I don't believe that Jarrett Stidham is the answer. I don't think that they've seen nearly enough from him. Well, excuse me. I think they have seen enough from him. They're going to continue watching him not perform very well. Then they're going to look at Cam Newton. And you mentioned that the ball just keeps dying. That's exactly what the Carolina Panthers saw. That's why they cut Cam. That's what I was saying on here for months on here, especially, the first couple weeks of the season when people were like, you know what? Maybe they should extend Cam Newton. He's the guy. He's back. Nah, you just had to wait, and this was what was going to happen. It's science. I mean, it is actual science, and so they need to upgrade, add the quarterback position. There's no doubt about it. But I want to go back to something that Scott talked about. He's talked about the coaching staff and the personnel staff that are in place. Scott, you've been there, and part of a brain drain there is people start to leave. What happens when a Caserio starts to leave? What happens if a McDaniels leaves? What happens as more and more of these guys start to sort of break off and attrition continues? And, it's been 15 or so years of attrition there. At some point, does the mighty Belichick, as great as he is, and I think that he's the greatest of all time, is there too much of a brain drain there in New England to where, all right, maybe you do get all these personnel guys back on the field. Maybe you do have above average quarterback play, but you've lost it in other areas.
It was a very interesting game, despite the fact that it was lopsided, because it was very strange to watch what I was seeing. I hate to be the, it's just like 2020 guy, but it felt like, hey, what a great way to end up, the 2020 with considering a strange year ends with a strange but fun and entertaining game. Well done, gentlemen. Certainly appreciate the time. All right, Jim Kelly on Insta. Congratulations, Jock. Keep breaking records and winning games. Keep doing your thing. Proud of you. Let's go Buffalo. Hashtag Bills Mafia. Good to see Jim Kelly there. That is, a guy who led his team to 4 straight Super Bowls, and that ain't easy to do. And people say, you lost a lot. He got there 4 times in a row. All things covered. B-Mac, Patrick Peterson getting there and getting great guests. Kirby Smart this week. You download, you subscribe, you enjoy. All right. Top fantasy performers. Again, I don't know how we're scoring the quarterbacks. Now, I do like that Patrick Mahomes is on top. I've argued with our fantasy guys from the summer until now. If you are in a 6-point touchdown pass league, Patrick Mahomes should have been the first pick in the draft. Everybody else is a risk. Aaron Rodgers stepped up. Yeah, that's great. Kamara, we didn't know about his back. Dalvin Cook didn't know about his help. Where's McCaffrey? Hurt. Where's Saquon? Hurt. Where's Michael Thomas? The only sure thing on the board is that guy. He's the #1 pick. Just listen to me. Chris Towers, listen to him too. Doing great stuff for us in our fantasy department. All right, let's start right here. Who do you have as the MVP of the fantasy season in 2020? Now that for almost all leagues, it's wrapped up.
It should have been James Robinson. It was James Robinson all year, and then he gets hurt in Week 15, doesn't play in the championship game. I can't give the MVP to the guy who's not there in the most important game of the season. So I'll give it to a guy who wasn't drafted quite as late as James Robinson, but David Montgomery. He was the 80th pick on average in CBS leagues, and for most of the season, he was not even worth the 80th pick. But then over the last 5 games, averaged 22.4 PPR points per game, including 22.6 from weeks 14 to week 16. He helped win a ton of championships, and the performance down the stretch, I think that's what makes David Montgomery the MVP. I might not be super thrilled about drafting him at his likely second round value next year, but he definitely was the MVP this season.
All right, how about most disappointing fantasy player? I'm going to go with Zeke. I never knock guys with injury. Like, I'm not going to go with McCaffrey. I'm not going to go with Michael Thomas. I'm not going to go with Barkley, because injuries happen. I know Zeke had injuries around him to his quarterback, to his offensive line, but that was a guy who played but didn't give you anything what you expected. I'll go with Zeke. Who do you say?
That's not a bad call. I think the fact that, he was the #1 fantasy RB in the first 5 games with Dak Prescott, that makes me think that it's less his fault, and I don't want to put it on him. So I'll go with Todd Gurley, who I actually traded for in week 9. And from that point on, he had 14.4 PPR points from week 10 on. It was just an utter disaster down the stretch. He got hurt. He was banged up. but we knew he was going to be dealing with that knee issue all season long, and he was still the 28th player drafted in CBS fantasy leagues on average. Todd Gurley, just a huge disappointment, especially down the stretch.
And then we have most surprising fantasy player. I mean, you go James Robinson there. All the rookies, there's always, Justin Herbert you can go with, Jefferson, but I'll go with Diggs. Like, Stephon Diggs is the guy. He won leagues for people. He beat me in a league, the league I care about, as we say. Tonight, he did it. That was it. He wasn't drafted anybody's top 10 or 12. Diggs, to me, was the most surprising player. Who are you going to go with?
Diggs had an incredible season, and I'm going to go ahead and call now. DJ Moore is going to be Stephon Diggs next season. Just an unbelievable talent, extremely young, has shown he can thrive in multiple places. So I'm putting my foot down there. But most surprising player and the best waiver wire pickup of the year, I'm going with Myles Gaskin. He scored double-digit PPR points in every game. Him and Stephon Diggs, they helped me break the single-game scoring record in one of my leagues to take home the championship.
They're different. You make a good point. Look, Diggs got drafted in every league. He was the best value pick of anybody. The waiver wire, Gaskin, maybe one of the two Washington guys, because we didn't know who was going to be there. They both, the running backs, they did some good things. Gibson was tremendous in spots. He beat me on Thanksgiving Day and single-handedly. Those are the guys. You did a great job. You nailed it perfectly. Thank you very much. Appreciate everything you do and everything you did for us all year long. And our fantasy guys do it for you all year long, including in their podcast game. You want more Chris Towers and the rest of the gang? You download, you subscribe, you enjoy.